Welcome to the 13th episode of the Daft Previews podcast. In this episode, we preview round 13 of the National Rugby League, the NRL. My name is Hector, and I'm joined by my co-host, Lycus. What's going on, lad?
Not much. We're doing round 19, by the way, not round 13.
Sorry, I was close.
For those of you listening in, stay tuned because we're actually going to preview in round 19. We're at round 30.
We're going to go back. We're going to reflect on round 13 and give you tips and predictions of round 19. We do all this in one take, and I'm not going back on it. So how was your lockdown weekend? I think, what's that weekend, 3 or 4 now?
Oh, it feels like, I don't know, you lose count when they all start happening. I think it's 3 for us. I think it's 3 for us, 1 for Queensland, 1 for Victoria, soon to be 2. I think it's 3, yeah. No, it's okay. Went, again, exercise. Apparently golf is exercise, so got plenty of exercise in.
Oh, nice.
It's weird though, because you just feel like you become more time conscious of being a punter, and you can review games and watch games. I've never watched so much NRL or sports in general with such a very analytical eye, whereas previously I'm like 12 schooners deep on Super Saturday, and I glance at the TV every time there's a try scored. So
yeah,
it's good.
I'm averaging, this is an honest take here, I'm averaging about 6 hours of screen time of just punting.
Yeah,
wow.
Between
the horses, the dogs, the esports, every NRL game, every AFL game that isn't on at the same time as the NRL, the international friendlies for basketball, preparing for the Olympics.
That starts tomorrow,
and then the two NBA games that happen throughout the week.
Wow.
Mate, I even watched a couple of snooker games. Minimum 6 hours a day sober, watching sports, various types, purely for the punt. Like, if that's not commitment, I don't know what is.
No, I don't
it's
know
probably
either.
more of a problem. But Gamble Aware is not our sponsor for this week. Do you want to have a guess on who our sponsor is?
Jim's mowing. I feel like the mowing industry could use some support as they've been shut down. So I feel like promoting a business would be impacted by the lockdown.
I would have, honestly, but a bad experience with Jim's mowing.
Did you?
And I now have I've got this guy that mows my lawn once a month. This Filipino bloke does a great job, and he does it for $50 a pop. So Jim's not our sponsor for this week. Our sponsor for this episode is Telstra.
Telstra. Okay.
Stream the world's best entertainment on Australia's largest mobile network. Learn how to today. Enjoy peace of mind with greater reliability and faster speeds in more places. You want to know how I'm able to watch 6 hours of live sport every single day whilst working? I take that back. I'm not working. But 6 hours of sport.
One take.
One take. But 6 hours of live streaming every single day, uninterrupted, all thanks to Telstra. So
there you go.
You're very welcome, Telstra, you fuckers.
I'd like to plug Aussie Broadband over here. They have been fantastic for me. In my world.
Man, if you got a problem with Telstra, you can't even get it fixed because it takes 3 hours to get hold of them.
Oh, they're terrible.
They send me letters in the mail about, upgrade to fucking NBN. Upgrade to NBN because I'm still on cable and I must be the only person in the suburbs still on cable.
You're half
and I've got
minority.
Limitless speeds.
Yeah.
Limitless speeds because I'm the only one using cable. But they're always trying to get me on NBN, but you try to call them and they don't answer. So you can't upgrade. You can't even call them to pay for it. Like, it's fucking shocking service. But what can you do? They're our sponsor for this week. So get on Telstra, lads. Next week we might be promoting KO, depending if they fuck up their streams or not on me. Do you have KO?
I do have KO.
Are you ever watching a game of anything and then you blink and suddenly you're rewatching the game? Like, it just goes back in time for a bit?
I've heard people saying that. I think I've seen it once on my TV, but I've been pretty lucky with KO. There was a period a couple of weeks back where it felt like it kept pausing. The internet wasn't keeping up with it, but we have really good internet here. But no real issues. But I think the biggest issue.
It's weird. It happens to me.
The biggest issue on the weekend was Sportsbet going down. Did you get looked after?
I did.
Hey.
But obviously, Sportsbet base it on how much of a degenerate you are.
Yeah.
And I have unfortunately spent the last couple of weeks giving my Ladbrokes account a workout because I found Ladbrokes are always willing to give you a deposit match or bonus bets if you just chat to them. Yeah, you just say, I'm looking for incentives, and I'm looking to deposit, or you say, I'm looking to switch over bookies. Is there anything you can do for me? And you could have spoken to that same person the day before. They'll still give you bonus bets and deposit matches.
Wow.
So the last few weeks I've been giving my Ladbrokes account a workout. So when Sportsbet finally went down, I was only credited with $50, whereas I know with my habits I should have got hundreds.
I heard there's people there who got a $500 bonus bet. That's
Yep.
And people didn't even log in. They just woke up and do this message. Like obviously people who got $500 ones probably were trying to log in on the Saturday because it was Saturday is their biggest day for profit.
It was prime time. It was
all the racing, all the footy, like it's so much money. And plus combined with lockdown, the gambling industry surges at this time. There's one company or companies in the industry that's happy at the moment. It's obviously not our construction industry. It is the betting industry because the betting industry is booming at the moment. So yeah, that was probably the biggest drama of the weekend. Apparently it was China. I heard China went on the attack. What are they against Sportsbet ads?
Of course it was.
I thought their marketing team were brilliant.
That's true. So I guess if you're listening, I want you to take a moment to reflect, think about how much you were given by Sportsbet, and if it was a lot, you need to reconsider your life. But if you are someone who got hundreds, fucking rip in.
Yeah,
because if you only got $20, you're not trying hard enough.
Nah, some people
you need to work at this. Yeah, if you only got $20 back from Sportsbet, you're not putting enough effort. You're not gambling hard enough, and if you can't afford it means you're not working hard enough. You need to make sacrifices. Those things you buy when you go groceries, with that thing called food, sacrifice it, mate. Punt harder. When Sportsbet shits itself, you'll be accredited for this later. Trust me. Take it to the bank.
So the real winners of this Sportsbet crash were the big bettors, the gamblers. The losers were the people who don't gamble. Losers.
That's 100% right. Speaking of losers, let's get straight into a fucking round of football because I don't know how many people like this jibber jabber. Round 19, I've reflected on round 13 of my own. But round 19 kicks off on Thursday evening at 7:50 at Seabus Super Stadium out on the Gold Coast. Sees the Parramatta Eels versus the Canberra Raiders. Now, the line on this one is 14.5 points, Parramatta being the favourite. The key changes to the lineups, Mitchell Moses, he's still ruled out due to a back fracture. Poor bloke. Yeah. So he's out, but Paulo is back in. Opachik is also out, but the biggest in, I think, for Parramatta outside of Paulo is the return of Fergie Ferg on the right wing. So excited to have the ball demon back. For the Raiders, Jack Wyden's out, fucked his ribs up, noticeably sore last week. Xavier Savage, he's out for the rest of the season, had a ripper one game. Rapana, he moves to fullback, but the biggest inclusion for the Canberra Raiders, there's a lot, but the biggest one is the return of Matt Frawley. He's the only man in the NRL who can grow a beard like Cameron Smith, so he's already got GOAT potential, and he manages a game like Cooper Cronk in his prime. So Matt Frawley in for Canberra, massive 14.5. How do you see this one going for the punters?
I'm going the Eels minus 14.5.
Disgusting.
We talked about it last week, but Mitch Moses, I feel he's a good player. Don't get me wrong, not like a great player, obviously proven at rev level, but he's not a mass. I think Dylan Brown's still the biggest key for that Eels team. And surprise, he scores the first try the other night, as I said last week in that podcast. Daddy's boy gets another good run of games now. Old Jake Arthur because of that injury to Moses, but I think they still cover this line. I know you said you got to go organising games, but Matt Frawley and Sam Williams bringing the ball 20 metres out on the attack, that does not scare me at all as a defence. I don't think they're going to be like, oh shit, Frawley's going to do something amazing here. He'll put pressure on anything, but he's not going to come up with a great play. So, even though the Raiders have looked a little bit better in the last couple of weeks, I'm not taking that game against Cronulla and a Manly team without Turbo as the form line. Whereas the Eels, yes, they lost to Penrith, but they bounced back pretty good against the Titans. So I'm taking the minus 14.5. Try scorers. I know they're the home team, and it's not Parramatta Stadium. It's up at Seabus, but I'm still going Sevo at $1.40 there. I think he's due a meat pie.
He is due, but
He
the
is.
fucker didn't score for me last week, so I'm blacklisting him because he's too short and he's not worth the pain. Old Wunga's not going to feed him either, so he's going to be starved by the end of it. He's going to look like an actual Fijian by the end of this season with how much ball he's going to be starved of. I've gone 14.5 for Canberra.
Oy.
Or because of the inclusion of Matt Frawley. And no, actually, that was the only reason why. It's got nothing to do with Mitchell Moses. Matt Frawley, looking through the team list now, deeply regretting this pick, but I'm going to roll with it because I've already submitted my bet through Sportsbet. Thank you. I think Parramatta's going to win for sure, but 14.5, do not know. Canberra could come out, strong 40 minutes, fade in the second half. But Parramatta hasn't been icing the teams. Actually, they have. They fucking gave it to the Titans last week.
Maybe.
What am I on? Oh, yeah, that glass of scotch I had. So, backed 14.5, but if you're listening, get on Parramatta to cover this line. My anytime try scorer is Blake Ferguson. Big return for him. Might see a couple of backflips as well. But with no Moses, we see Dylan Brown operating on the right side of the field. And everything around him is where the magic happens. That's why Hayes Dunce has been able to score lately. So now that Fergie's back, I expect him to get a line break and then run straight over Rapana, slam it down in the corner. That's easy money right there. The next game is on Friday, 6 p.m, Sunshine Coast Stadium. It's the Sydney Roosters versus the Newcastle Knights. For the Roosters, Teddy is back. Joey Manu's in the centres. Josh Morris has been listed among the reserves. Takiaho, he's back. Angus Crichton moves into the starting lineup as well. For the Knights, Saifidi is back, but Mitchell Pearce is still out. Kalen Ponga and Clemmer both had some head knocks last week, but they've been named to play. The line on this one is, I think it's 11.5. Am I right?
Correct.
11.5 on this one. Roosters being the favourites. How do you see this one going?
I've gone the home team again, or the theoretical home Roosters, minus 11.5, and that's purely down to Mitch Pearce. I know Ponga brought a lot in terms of attack, but they look so different without Pearce in the halves. Just linking that attack together, that kicking game. Clifford and Phoenix Crossland, again, not halves that really intimidate and scare defensive lines. So I think it's going to go a lot. It's going to go through Ponga. And I think the Roosters, whilst they have been leaky at times, they only seem to defend against the really top teams, whereas those teams six and below, they can defend the line with. It's still, I know he's been out of form, but the fact they can drop Josh Morris and still have a back line of Tedesco Tupou, Billy Smith, he's a good player. He's going to be a good player, that kid. Joey Manu, Ikavalu, they're still strong in the back line. That forward pack is just about as near full strength as they can get it, obviously, without Crichton there. I'm not Crichton, Cordner, and Jake Friend, but
and Collins as well.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. And yeah, Nat Butcher on the bench, I think shows they've got more depth. So taking them minus 11.5. Try scorers, I've gone Teddy. Just on the pure fact he's $1.91, and a lot of their try scorers are way too short, because I feel like the Roosters sometimes will favour one side. If it seems to be working down the right hand side, you'll never see Tupou get the ball, even though he can score. I find that's how the Roosters play. If something's working, they'll just keep going there. If Tupanua is making line breaks and busting over, or Crichton is, I'll just keep going to them all night. And $1.50 for Tupou, Ikavalu $1.57 too short. So Teddy at $1.91 is where I've gone.
That's bangers. I rate it. I've also got a bet leaning towards the Roosters, but it's not the line. I've picked the Roosters to score over 29.5 points. I did the same bet on them last week, which just came off. But the reason being against Newcastle. Newcastle's out of their last 6 losses, in 5 of them, the winning team scored over 30 points. The only team that beat them that didn't score that much was Souths, when they scored 24 they won 24-10, and that game was an absolute fucking bludger. Souths were terrible, errors all over the joint. Once they got well in front, they just cruised from then on out. So pretty shit game from South. So I'm backing the Roosters to win, but obviously to score over 30 points in this one. My try scorers have gone to Billy Smith at $2.40. He's got a great strike rate. When he plays, he scores. He actually doesn't have a try assist in his life, so chances are he's not passing it to fucking Tupou. So another week where Tupou doesn't score a try and the Roosters annihilate the opposition. So Billy Smith at $2.40. He's young, he's keen, he moves really well, and I can definitely see him getting over. I've got a real interesting one in this next game. So I'll let you go first once again. But 7:55, your main event on Friday at Queensland Country Bank Stadium. I got it this week. It's the Cowboys versus the Melbourne Storm. What's the line on this one? 26.5 or something?
Correct.
26.5. So clearly Melbourne the favourites. The big outs to call out, Cam Munster, rested. Dale Finucane, rested. Felice Kafusi and George Jennings all out for Melbourne, with the only out for the Cowboys being Javid Bowen after that fucking sickening ACL injury he copped last week. Pappenhausen, named to come back, but he is playing off the bench, so we have limited time. And the Fox and Nelson and Christian Welsh are all back as well. So they lose a fucking shit ton of talent, but they get back just as good or better. For the Cowboys, nothing notable, to be honest. Try scoring freak Mo Tuolangi moves from the wing to the centres, so he's probably even less likely to score a try now. Kane Bradley on the wing. If you like your exotics, have a taste of that. But if you do, you're a fucking idiot. Line on this one is massive. But how do you see this one going?
I still think
Melbourne been covering this line easy.
I still think they cover this line easy. I think it's until it gets to. I reckon it doesn't matter who they play. Maybe Penrith obviously be the exception. They got in their run coming up. I would still take, if it's 30 or less, I'm taking Melbourne every week. I just think they're just so good at the moment. And if you look at their form, they've had players out most weeks. They haven't had the full strength Melbourne team, which is scary. And they are deserved premiership favourites as well, obviously with Penrith having to move to Queensland. But they don't have to play
14
Melbourne.
wins in a row.
Yeah, they are humming along, and it is going to probably come down to Penrith to stop them breaking the record, because I can't see them dropping any other games. I think
crazy. All 40 wins were convincing wins, except for the Gold Coast win where they were missing their origin players.
Yeah, that's it. Like,
they still won by 6.
Some of their wins have been absolute. Like the Tigers game have been shellackings. Like they're not even. They're on pace to break records like crazy since like Para's 2001 season, I think it was. But yeah, they're literally, the only danger is, do they have one eye on next week's game against Penrith? But again, if Cleary doesn't play next week, then goodbye that chance of game anyway. But then they got Manly the following week. Maybe they got a tricky-ish run, but I think they until they're 30 points or more. Over 30 points, I'm taking them minus the line. And that guy Pappenhausen's back. It's scary how good they've been without him, but remember how good he was before. He was challenging Tedesco for that fullback spot in the New South Wales team. So that's my pick. I think they'll cover the line comfortably. I think Cowboys are a team that don't exactly have resilience about them once they go behind. So I consider a big scoreline coming. And then for any times, mate, the cheese, Brandon Smith. He is scoring meat pies for fun. He's putting rocks in Bellyache's bag.
How fucking good was that video?
So
I was
good.
Giggling so much.
Again, if he wasn't playing the way he was, he would not have done that, and he would not have got away with it. But like, just remember, he's got 16 appearances this year for 9 tries. He's scoring more than every 2 games, like better than every. It's crazy stats. I'm backing him at 220 again. So
beautiful. I love it. Thank God we don't have the same try scorer. We haven't hit that once. We'll see how long that lasts. I think next 2 games we've got the same. But I've got an interesting take on this one. This I would trade my car in. Whatever that piece of shit is worth, I'll chuck all of it on this bet because I'm really loving it. I'm thinking it's moist. Check this out. Melbourne Storm to score over 17.5 points in the first half.
That's not bad.
Can you believe that's the fucking line for the first half? You want to know how much points they scored in the first half in the last 3 weeks? They scored 30 points in the first half against Newcastle, 30 points in the first half against Melbourne, and 40 points in the first half against the Tigers.
Jeez, well, there you go.
And for a team who's scoring more than 40 every single week, for their first half total point mark to be 7.5, it's an absolute fucking steal.
I agree.
So, because what they were also doing the last 20 minutes of the game, they're giving people early marks.
Yeah.
They keep giving their good players early marks, and they just chuck whoever they can. Kenny Bromwich just plays 6, or Brandon Smith was playing in the halves last week to finish up. So they're cruising through the first half and then just absolutely putting the brakes on in the second, but still getting some tries. But 17.5 points in the first half, bag it. My anytime try scorer in this one's Remus Smith. That's all because of the Cam Munster being out. So Jerome Hughes is going to dominate the ball. He sits on the right side of the field. He'll probably score one himself, but I think he'll probably set up 5. I think he set up like 5 or 6 tries last time Munster was out.
Yeah, he did.
So, and I think the right winger and right centre are going to score. Remus Smith, definitely the value pick at $1.91. Boy, that selection did get me aroused for the next one. So I've gone something similar. Actually, no, it's not the first half. I take that back. But we've got the kickoff to your Super Saturday. Was it Sleazy Saturday, Slutty Saturday? What do we want to call this Saturday? I forgot what it was called.
I feel like it was Sleazy Saturday. I think
Sleazy Saturday.
We didn't want to disrespect our female viewers out there.
Okay, Sleazy Slutface Saturdays at 3 p.m. at the Sunshine Coast Stadium. We see the South Sydney Rabbitohs who continue to fuck my multis, against the New Zealand Warriors who have also fucked my multis for 5 weeks in a row. Until last week where I bet against them. What do we have? Key outs for this game, Alex Johnson. Paul Dehamy scoring his second try last week. Did you know last week I had a multi with South, not even to cover the line, but to win 13 plus, Alex Johnson to score twice, Tane Milne to score, and Cam Murray to score.
Oh.
Alex Johnson scores his second try and then goes off the field immediately with an injury. And I was like, fuck. And Tane Milne had already scored at this point, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, this is in the bag. Like, surely Murray can get it. But the fucking the Rabbits, couldn't cover the 13 points against the Dogs because they're falling over, gifting them tries.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Fucking scum of the earth.
They should be locks every week for the way they can play at points. But then that's Wayne Bennett gets the team up at the right time, and they're not peaking right now, which isn't the worst thing.
Yeah, they're just winning ugly, motherfuckers. But Johnson's out, Liam Knight's out, Mamazoulis is out. But big outs for the Warriors. Rocco Berry, RTS, Tohu Harris, Wade Egan out. They do have some somewhat acceptable ins, though. Adam Pompey, Ben Murdoch-Masila, Bunty's there, Jack Murchie, Sean O'Sullivan. So not the same type of talent, but you had RTS playing on the wing anyway. So, and he's not a great winger, to be honest. Doesn't fucking score tries. He does stop them, but he doesn't score many. So if you got Dallin and Montoya on the wings, you're fine. You got Pompey and Aitken in the centres. They're all solid. Cody Nicarim and Chad Townsend in your halves. So I think they're fine, and their forward pack's pretty good with Lodgy, Fanua Blake, Tavanga. Tavanga's playing 9, and he's pretty solid at that. He'll probably get sent off at some point, but pretty strong team nonetheless. What's the line on this one? I don't know what it is because I didn't touch it.
Yeah, so the line's 17.5 for Warriors. So
okay, got a 3-try line. How did you see this one going?
I think Warriors can hang on and cover this line. But I'm leaning on this because the Rabbitohs, whilst they're on this, believe it or not, they've strung 6 wins in a row. They've been the most unconvincing 6 wins, apart from that Broncos hammering where, again, that was just the Broncos not showing up. They've had moments against the Tigers, the Cowboys, the Dogs last week. They were behind. Para, they let back into the game for a little bit, even though Gagai carved up. Like, they haven't put 80 minutes together, and I don't think they will this week. It's similar with Para. The Para's problem at the moment is they can play 80 minutes against the weak teams, but they can't put it against big teams. I think Wayne Bennett is just nursing these Rabbitohs along. They don't have to put 80 minutes together right now. They've just got to keep getting the wins. I think they will win the game, but I don't think they're going to pump them. I think the 18 points is enough there. The Warriors will hang on. And I know Wade Egan's a massive voice. He was killing it. That Warriors team should have beaten Penrith last week if they had a full strength team on the bench, if they had a full bench or 3 players on the bench, but they had nobody on the bench for 40 minutes. And that's what cost them in the end because they were the better team against Penrith. And I think as long as they stay fit on the field, they won't have players like Matt Lodge doing 72-minute stints or whatever he did last week. Like, it was stupid. So I'm backing them to cover that there. In terms of my anytime try scorers, I've gone pretty safe, I'll be honest. Taya Milne. Again, I'm not backing Mansour. I think Mansour will bomb you more tries than he'll score. And I think the Rabbitohs probably realise that, and they'll probably mix it up this week. So,
do you want me to give you some juice on Tane Milne?
Yeah, go on.
Tane Milne's playing off the bench this week.
He'll start.
They've got 3 wingers in the lineup this week, so I don't know what the fuck Wayne's doing, but he's given Jackson Paulo and Mansour a run with Tane Milne on the bench. I think at some point you'll see Latrell probably have a break.
Yeah.
That's how I believe it will go. But yeah, just as an FYI, Tane Milne's off the bench. Probably still will score, but he'll be in the 14 jumper. Or he's planning to give the Source a run and then hook him. But I've got similar insights to you. I believe that's how the game's going to go, where the Warriors can cover that line. But what I am putting my bet on is South's inability to stop people from scoring fucking points, because that's what they do when they burn my multis. They let shit teams score points. They let Canterbury score 24. They let the Cowboys score 18. They let the Tigers score 22. That's their last 3 weeks. They held the Broncos to 0, but I think that was the Broncos just not scoring, not South holding them to nothing. But they've let shit teams score points. The total points line for the Warriors, check this out, 16.5 points is paying $2.06. So over $2 for the Warriors to score 17 points. And I believe the Warriors are a better team than Canterbury, Cowboys, and the Tigers.
Agree.
They're not getting the wins, but I think they're a better team. So I think against this flimsy South's defense with Paulo and the Source playing their first games in a very long time, could be a bit clunky defensively. So I reckon that's going to happen. And I've got Reece Walsh to score because he always fucking does. He's got the best strike rate in the Warriors' history, which is unbelievable, playing fullback and off the bench or in the halves. It's crazy. I don't know how he's doing it. So that's my tips for the Rabbitohs Warriors game at 5:30 on your Slapface Saturday at Suncorp Stadium in Brisbane. We've got the Manly Sea Eagles, and this is the Manly Sea Eagles that we like to see with Turbo and DCE in the lineup, up against the Tigers, who had their doco released just this week. Have you had a chance to watch that?
I did. Wasn't too bad.
Is that any good? Because I plan to watch it.
It wasn't too bad. But they only show basically I think there's four episodes in it, but they show just game days more. Not really. They don't show the training sessions and preseason and things like that. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, I don't know. Justin Pascoe, I'm not a fan of him already. He came off a bit wankerish, and yeah, it made Madge looked good in it, but I don't think the board looked as good. But it's worth a watch. But yeah, it's the Tigers. It's made the Tigers. It's a pretty cool documentary for a team that's won 3 games this year or 4 games. Yeah.
Who's counting? But the line on this one is 48.5 points, so that's what it should be. What is it actually? 18.5.
18.5, yeah.
18.5 starts. Manly being the favourites in this one. If you're big on the head-to-heads, $1.15, boys. Get into it. But how do you see this game going? Considering the Tigers just got a win, and Manly finally played a good game without Turbo, but Turbo's back, baby.
Turbo's back. Easy. 18.5. That's ridiculous. That's insulting that a Manly team with Tommy Turbo, when the last time they played with Tommy Turbo, they put 66 points on the Dogs, 56 points on the Titans, 50 points on the Cowboys. They did lose to Newcastle. There was a blip there, but then put 28 on Para, 50 on the Broncos. Mate, they score for fun with Tommy Turbo on the team. And they're coming up against the Tigers team who conceded 24 against the Broncos. So, like, it's not like the Tigers defensively are a solid team going to stop them. Tommy Turbo is going to run riot, minus 8.5. 2 or more tries for Tommy Turbo is paying $3. I'd even have a look at the hat trick. Just going on the hat team to score a hat trick, that's paying $8.50. Like, I think he can easily score 3 because the Tigers leak points everywhere. So he's going to be, and he's always running him back in support.
Yeah, he's always there.
And also, if you recall, he earlier this year, he came, did he play against the Tigers? Was it where he scored 2? I'm having a mind blank now. So he, earlier this year, I think it was his second game back. So his first game back was against the Titans out at Dubbo or wherever, and they pumped them 36-0. Then they played a game at Bankwest Stadium on a Sunday afternoon. I think it was not an Anzac Day game. But Tommy Turbo had a field day, I remember, through the middle, and they won 40-6. So
yes.
Yeah, I can see the same thing happening. How do you see it?
Yeah, it was one of his first games back. I think second game back or something.
They ran through the middle, like busted them up the middle, like just ran through holes, and they were scoring for fun in the first half. I think Cherry.
Yeah, they were just going bang bang. Yeah, Cherry had a good scoring game against them. Yeah, it was 40-6. One thing to keep in mind, that 40-6 was before Magic Round. Before we that's after Magic Round, things really loosened up. Like the pace of the game was already crazy, but then Magic Round happened. Yeah, more people getting sent off, more points are scored. And now, to avoid all the send-offs, you see a lot of people are tackling people low.
Yes,
and then it's just quick play the balls.
And they're either getting penalised or getting a quick play the ball.
Yeah, that's all that's happening. So if that change, even though it was around stop tackling people high in the fucking face, it's resulting in more points. And this year is just crazy for point scoring when you got hookers paying $2 to score a try. So you're back at Manly to cover the line. Who's your try scorer? Turbo for 3?
Turbo for 2. Go 2. $3.
Go for 2. All right. Keep it safe. I like it.
Yeah, because I think he'll have a hat-trick chance, but he'll pass it off or something.
Yeah. I think I reckon there's going to be a lot of points in this game. Tigers at their best aren't going to stop Manly from scoring. They'll probably just score more tries as well. But I'm back in the overs. I put a post up on the Discord on Sunday evening because Sunday evening's the best time to have a look at the odds because no teams have been listed, so everything's quite generic. So I could already foresee Turbo and DCE coming back this week. At the time, they had the total points line at 49.5 for this game, which has now moved up to 51.5.
Yeah.
But I still think that's quite low. This season, I think both teams have a 58% strike rate of going over this total in their games.
Oh, wow. Okay.
What's crazy is since Magic Round, it's like 83% of the Tigers games have gone over that total.
Wow.
And we already know how Manly can put on 40 points easily. They can do it in the second half if they need to. So you put the threat of Manly, the fact that the Tigers fucking don't defend anyone, they either get blown out by 50 or they score 30 and let the other team score 20 if they're going to win the game. But the overs is, I think that's a nice juicy play, over 51.5. And I've gone with Turbo to score 2 as well. He's back. Easy could have gone Saab or Turbo, but if they're paying the same odds, you've got to jump on the Messiah.
I think you even do.
I think he needs a better nickname than Turbo.
Yeah, I think you even do like a same game multi and chuck, both of them to score doubles. It's like $9 or something. Because like they're that team where doubles are a common thing, and just chucking say Brad Parker and Ruben Garrick for any times. Like it's just one of those games where like
Kawatu.
Similar to like what we talked about like earlier before the podcast with the Bulldogs. You don't know who's going to score their tries. Like they can score, but it could be a forward going over. It could be a back rower. It could be a winger. It could be a half hooker. Whereas Manly, if they're going to score points, Saab, Trbojevic, it's got to go through them and get on their ball, or Garrick's end,
Well, you can see it when you look at a heat map of where they score their tries. It's it's melting around those players. It's
Agreed.
locks for sure. But no, that should be a pretty easy one to tip that game. The next one, the main event on Saturday, Suncorp Stadium, 7:35. We've got the Panthers versus the Broncos. If this was a normal year in the Kingdom of Brisbane, I would put a wager on it with you,
Yes.
knowing that you are a devoted Panthers man. But considering it's 2021, first year of Kevy's reign after the Man Seabold, there is no chance in hell that I'm making any bets with anybody about this Brisbane team doing anything remarkably well. I guess the changes, we've got Coates for Brisbane. He's out. With Asako staying on the wing. Do we have any outs for Penrith? We have Luai returning.
Luai's back.
That's pretty big.
So Burton moves
Luai's
to
back.
centres. And then
Naden's relegated.
Naden's relegated. But other than that,
Tyron May, the second best halfback in the club, according to Ivan Cleary.
Don't know how.
Sticking at number 7. For the Broncos, we've got Flegler and Ricky starting. So penalty-prone players, they're locks to give away a penalty each in this game, probably on the 4th tackle. And Jesse Arthurs, who plays 4 minutes a game off the bench, has finally been moved to reserves because I think someone's told the coach he's wasting his time there. The line on this one is not as big as you'd think it'd be because there's no Cleary, but it's 19.5 points. Penrith as the favourites. But how do you see this one going? As a devoted Panthers man?
Devoted, but I'm going to call it honest. I think Brisbane can cover the line. Couple of reasons. Firstly, I knew I should have stuck to my old formula last week of a Brisbane win, bet against the line against them next week because they shit the bed and they did against the Tigers and did some dumb things. But again, historically, they seem to enjoy shaping up against Penrith. We talked about it early in the year, which was also at Suncorp, which Penrith's record is patchy at Suncorp. It's not great. They've won their last 2 against Brisbane at Suncorp, but they've only been by 8 points and 13 points. They're not, and these are 2 seasons where Penrith have been one of, if not the best team in the comp. Against Brisbane is been one of, if not the worst team in the comp. So for 2 seasons now, they have struggled to go to Suncorp with full strength earlier this year with Cleary, and then last year with full strength as well, and they can't put the Broncos away. I don't know if the Broncos just seem to enjoy the way Penrith play and can defend it a lot easier.
It's like the Broncos are like the Undertaker, and this game's WrestleMania. We're someone else.
Yeah, so I just don't. And I think the way Penrith have been playing, whilst they've got 3 wins in a row, they've been non-convincing wins. Nothing there to say to me, Penrith can do all right without Cleary. I know they may be looking at getting him back next week for that Melbourne game. But this week, I think this could be a case of them scrapping a win. So I'm taking the plus, the handicap start there on the Broncos. I think that's plenty points to play with, the 19.5.
Ooh.
Plus, Penrith's kicking, conversion. Crichton isn't the best kicker going around. So they're backing Penrith to score 4 more tries and kick the conversions. If they don't miss, if he doesn't kick very well, then they've got to score 5 more tries, and I can't see them doing that. Anytime try scorers, as we said earlier, Burton back in the centres, $1.91. Just get on Burton. His scoring rate in centre is ridiculous. So,
and Luai should see more action as well.
Yes, the ball should go Luai's way. But then again, Tyron May did have a couple tries this last week with Martin and Toto there, and Staines. So, yeah, that's how I see it. How do you see it?
I've had to go deep into sports bets offerings to find something worth jumping on here. I think I found a winner at $2.12. I've got the Broncos to score over 6.5 points in the first half. When they last met, the Broncos scored 12 points in that game. All 12 points are in the first half.
There you go.
So I don't think they'll score too many, but I think they can cover that 6.5 within the first half. It could be, early penalty goal and then 1 try, or we'll go over for 2 tries. We'll see. But I think to get over $2 for 6.5 points, pretty juicy for my boys from Brisbane. There's a chance that they cover that line, but there's also a chance that they just give up. Like, the minute they're getting bashed, they just fucking give up. Like,
Yes.
that Tigers game last week was close. You're thinking, oh, at one point I was like, either team 1 or 12 would have been a good bet on this one. And then the Tigers got a roll on, the Broncos got a call against them, and that was it. No resilience, and they just folded. They got rolled. They didn't have any injuries. They weren't missing people. You know what I mean? It's fucked. Your best player was Payne Haas again, who already played 60 minutes on the Wednesday. There's just no ticker, mate. And with Brody out there, I don't trust him to tackle anyone. So that's my pick for $2.12. For the try scorer, I've gone a bit of a juicy one. Kurt Capewell at $3.10. He's got a pretty good try scoring record this year, playing in the second row for the Panthers. It's also his final game, unless the Broncos make the finals, which they won't. It's his final game against his future club. So signed with Brisbane for next year. I can see him scoring, and the commentators making a big deal about this as an audition for what the Broncos can expect to see next year. So he's got 5 tries from 13 games so far this season, which is a pretty good strike rate for a second rower. Yeah. So I'm backing him to go over $3.10. So pretty keen for that one. I'll probably be upset afterwards, but if my multi gets up, I'll be a happy chappy. Now into the dredges. So these are, if you're not going to watch NRL this weekend, the games on Sundays are the ones you probably don't want to see. We've got some fucking gut-wrenching teams, unpredictable. When you back them to win, they're probably shithouse. There's a few rep players, but not many. A lot of them, these 4 teams have players who used to be rep players, right? And they're all over the joint. So the first one is the Dragons versus the Tigers at Cbus Super Stadium at 1:50 p.m. on Sunday. Corey Noelman is serving his suspension. Dufty's back. He's a big in. There's been a lot of shuffling for the Dragons. Ben Hunt's probably the only consistent player that's in there. Ben Hunt and Andrew McCulloch. But I think what's more interesting is if you look at the ones who used to be rep players.
Yeah.
You've got Jack DeBellin, Josh Maguire, Jack Bird. Josh Kerr was 18th man last year. He almost made the rep team. Andrew McCulloch, he's had a stint at Origin, and that'll be the last one he ever plays.
Yeah.
Who else we got? Jared Bill's an ex-international.
Kiwi.
He's a Kiwi. And for the Titans, I think the biggest call out there for me is Jared Wallace. He should never get a run in Origin again, even though he hasn't even hit his prime as a prop. Peach, ex-Origin player, a couple of internationals in there. Ash Taylor could have been, but it didn't, thank goodness. But the line on this game is 5.5 points. Gold Coast Titans are the favourite. I had to think a bit before making my selection on this one, but it seems to me you didn't have to think much at all. Who'd you go?
No, I'm going Titans, cover the line. I think Dragons season is free falling. I think with obviously what happened with the Paul Vaughan party, the fact that they then came out against the Manly team without Tommy Turbo and just struggled. With Sloan as well, dropped to reserve. They've got obviously Dufty back in there. Yeah, it's not Jaden Sullivan in 5'8" doesn't really deter me. It's a tricky thing with that Drake. They've actually got a decent team on paper. But I don't think Anthony Griffin is the answer for them. And I think there's problems in that team. If they all can think they can go have a barbecue and they'll just put out Instagram posts apologizing and move on. Yeah, I think their season is on a slide. I know they did beat the Warriors and the Raiders, but they lost to the Dogs. Whereas I think the Titans, I know they've only got 1 win in their last 6, but I feel they've had possibly the worst run of games of any team in the last 6. They've had Melbourne, Roosters, Manly, Canberra, Para. So, and the one game they did win was the team not in the 8. They've played top 4, 5 teams, 5 of their last 6. So they've had a pretty torrid run. So they're going to look at this run of fixtures that they have coming up, and they've got to start winning now. If they don't, then they're easy bets against for the rest of the season. So I'm taking them, and I'm taking Dufty at $2 for any time try scorer.
Ooh,
Um,
Duff man.
yeah, he hasn't scored in a while, and I know he hasn't played, but
He hasn't played, yeah.
I think he's due. So Titans, yeah, as I said, have a good run. They got Dogs next week, then they got the Cowboys. So there's 3 in a row they could win before they got
Great.
South and
More
Melbourne.
bludgers.
Yeah,
What terrible games to watch.
exactly. But how do you see it?
I've got the Titans to cover the line. I think I was thinking about it quite a bit because I was like, oh, Dragons have a chance of holding to the 8. A lot of the results happening around them actually favour them. I only know that because of my mate who's a big Dragons fan. He lets me know after every game how that loss or that win for that team helps the Dragons somehow. So, but I did decide to land on the Gold Coast Titans. They were absolutely shithouse last week. I've done my research and found they only play good when they're expected to win it anyway. If it's going to be an arm wrestle or a chance to prove themselves, they're not going to. They don't want that type of pressure. But when they come up against shit teams, they'll beat them. I think they beat the Cowboys, the Bulldogs, Broncos, Tigers, like the absolute filth teams, and the way the Dragons are going, they're one of them. So I think the Titans will clean these blokes up and cover that line. If the Titans are going to be scoring a lot of points, you can't miss this bloke, David Fafita. He only actually played for 7 minutes last week. The rest of the time he was just running around the field. But he had 7 minutes where he put in effort last week and scored 1.5 tries.
Yeah.
1.5 tries last week. Got disallowed the second one, but
what's he paying
still
for
went
any
over.
time?
Not much. $2.25. Boy.
Not too bad.
I know. $2.25 for David Fafita. What's he got, like 13, 14 tries or something already this year?
Got
like,
a ton. He'd be their leading try scorer of the Titans. Almost certain it is.
Easily. So he's got 12 tries in 14 games.
And he's 225. That's saying
225. Dead set. Like the other one I was going, and I'll probably put them both in my multis, Corey Thompson, back on his left wing. He scored 7 tries in 10 games. So they've got the best strike rates, and I think they're both paying about $2 or more. So that's what I'm going. And then the final game on your Sunday is an absolute bludger. 2 teams with no hopes for this year clash at 4:00. Be streamed on 9 and on Fox Sports. Hope you miss it. Bulldogs versus the Sharks. The big changes for the Bulldogs, we've got Jeremy Marshall-King coming in place of Sione Katoa. We've got some changes around with their forward pack, similar players playing in different positions. For the Sharks, Aiden Tolman is out. Toby Rudolph will move to replace him, with Jack Williams getting a run in the starting lineup. So very similar looking teams that you would have seen last week if you were game enough to watch them play. The line on this one is 11.5 in favour of the Sharks. Massive, considering how the Bulldogs have been playing and how shit the Sharks are and have been. The total points is 49.5. It's the lowest of the week, 49.5. But how do you see this one going?
It's crazy to say a team that's won literally 2 games all year that I'm taking them with 11.5 start, but I'm taking the Dogs here, 11.5 start.
With confidence, right? With confidence.
With a lot of confidence, actually. More confidence than, say, the previous game of the Titans. And again, Cronulla, they've won 5 of their last 7. It's a weird thing to say, but if you look at recent form, the Dogs have definitely shown more fight in their last couple of weeks. Yes, they got blown off the park before that by Manly, but this is a team they're scoring points now. Like they're competing. They're not. There are still a blowout game in them, but they're not as awful as, say, Cronulla look like they're going. They're tracking, because I think last week they were pretty bad, and Sean Johnson had a shocking game again.
Oh,
you think back to the Broncos game.
One run. He didn't get tackled once, Sean Johnson.
Yeah, he had I remember when they lost against. It's a lot's going to come down to what Sean Johnson wants to do, but if you look back at their results, they haven't been convincing. Is it wheels falling off, or they've just, come to the realization that they're not competing for the comp this season? I know they're in the 8, but they could look at it going, we're not good enough to do anything anyway. Fitzy's on his way in, there's big changes. So I'm taking them plus 11.5. I think they'll keep it close. I think they could even win it, 375 to win. Then if they're going to win 1 to 12, 450, they're not going to put 13 plus on Cronulla. Like, that'll be the day. But
Yeah.
flashback for the Bulldogs, their first win of the season was against Cronulla, and that's when Trent Barrett cried. So they'll be backing themselves to beat the Sharks, because they've already done it once this year. So I'm taking them plus 11.5, just to be safe. In terms of try scorers, again, I've just stick to the old formula of Dogs players. You can't pick which ones are going to score. So Aaron Shop, or Shoop, wherever you want to pronounce it, at $3.40.
I avoided him so I didn't have to say his name.
You know what? Like, a lot of is backing him. I just like the way he plays as well. Like, he
plays really well.
He does. He goes. I remember when they played Penrith earlier this year. He stood up to Penrith and got in the face and, tried ruffling some feathers.
It's like a young Josh Dugan, this bloke.
Yeah, so I like the mullet that he rocks as well, so I'm backing him at 340. And if I'm alive still by the time this multi rolls around, I'm looking at a $371 multi. So if I can land that, it'll be nearly 5 Gs in my account. So that's how I see it. How do you see it?
I've got the Bulldogs to cover the line. I think the Bulldogs will win this game. Beat the Sharks twice this year, but the line is very healthy, 11.5. Cronulla have won 5 games out of their last 7, but in 4 of those wins, they were close. They barely got away. They're all nail biters. So all 1 to 12 victories. I think the Bulldogs will do well enough. They've still got Lachlan Notorious Lewis playing after he copped the fine after that halftime scuffle with Cody Walker. Jeremy Marshall King, he's a pretty good 9. He's not good in the halves, but he's not bad at 9. So I like seeing him in there, but I just like the fact that the Bulldogs are always trying, despite not having a great team. The effort's always there. Whereas the Sharks, they have such a good team. They have like a top 6 team on paper. Yep. They should be in the top 6 looking at that lineup, but they fucking suck. They missed 60 tackles last week, where half of the game you're tackling. Like, since you're 4 years old playing rugby league, these blokes, there was an emphasis on tackling. So the last 18 to 25 years of these people's lives, half of the time was spent on tackling and practicing on how to tackle, and they were so bad. The Raiders had like 20-something offloads last week. Like, it was crazy. It was so bad. Just such, like, everyone was playing like Aaron Woods, and I don't like it. Whereas for the Bulldogs, everyone was playing like Josh Jackson, Not smart, but all-out effort. You know what I mean? Dumb as fuck plays, but going as hard as they can. So really interested to see how that goes. Jack Hetherington, I honestly thought he was going to get sent off last week, but looking at the replays, just poor tackling techniques. But my try scorer for this week is someone who has 100% strike rate so far this season, and that's Jaden Ockenball. He was so bad on the weekend. He was just loaded with errors, but still scored a try. So imagine how this week goes. If he improves, he's probably a bit nervous. He's probably a bit nervous looking at the age of the players he was up against. I know he's probably used to younger players, I mean. But no, I'm backing him. Jaden Ockenball. Over $2, I think. Let me have a look. $2.20.
He's an interesting player, Ockenball. He's had a very interesting career.
Extracurricular activities.
Always.
But it's looking nice and juicy for me. Not as much juice as yours. I think my line and total points multis are up to $228, and my anytime try score is at $488. For those of you faggots who are part of the Discord group, I know. For you faggots who are part of the Discord group and listen to this and follow on, I'll put together my absolute best bets and share it in there, because obviously there's some that I'm kind of on the fence on. So I'll put my best on there, chuck a pineapple on it, thank me later, or grill me if you have to. I'm all up for it. But do you have any last words?
No. Bet hard, go hard during lockdown. As I said, the longer we're locked down, the tighter restrictions, the more we punt. Of course. Thanks for tuning in also, but make sure, guys, leave some feedback. If you think it's crap, tell us it's crap. Thank you to the people who listen. Share the potty. Let's get this baby growing like our bank accounts.
Let's do it, boy. And thank you, Telstra, for sponsoring this week's video, but not video. Not really. I'll see you next week.
See ya.